Greetings and merry meet, folks. Simeon here. On this program, I want to talk to you about two things which are often combined when we talk about witchcraft. The first thing being an empath, or what I find that I am, a hyper-empath, and both being that and both being a pagan witch. Now, hyper-empathy. Well, let's first discuss empathy on its own. Empathy, or an empath, is someone whose sensitivities and awareness aren't confined to his own mind space or spiritual energy space. It extends to people and objects and pets and everything else around him, even the thought forms. We're sensitive to that form of energy and emotions. Untrained or undisciplined, we react to it all the time. We adopt it as our own because it's so much more overwhelming than our own energies and emotions that the noise is the greater constant. So we start to buy into, oh, I'm feeling sick, when in actuality we really aren't feeling sick. Or the thing that that person was talking about makes me mad as hell. Now, they could be mad as hell, but because an empath might not have the disciplines to recognize and differentiate that noise from their own noise, pardon me, it makes it all that much more difficult. I have a lot of Asian and Buddhist and Zen leanings, even being a witch, and I've learned some pretty amazing disciplines in regards to quieting the external mental chatter and even quieting my own mental chatter. Okay, now a hyper-empath, you take what an empath is perceptive to and you ramp that up about 1,000 times. Think of the difference between a comfortable music playing in a room to something that is like you being at a concert and you being, 2 feet away from the stage speaker. It's coming full volume at you. And aside from leaving, there's no way you can control it. So with my leanings towards Asian and Zen Buddhism and meditations, that type of thing, and my sort of understanding of how radios work, I've sort of combined them all into one. I have a very, very lucid and active imagination. It's lifelike. And on that mental plane, on that mind's eye picture, I can create things and devices that will allow me to control how much noise from the outside world gets in. I've done this all on my own, just by my own studying of excuse me, Zen meditations and Buddhism, and how to focus on the singularity and not allow any external distractions to happen. Okay, let's switch over to pagan witches. When we do our magic, when we do our spell work, or casting a spell, or creating a curse or a blessing or a binding, in order for the magic to do what it is meant to do, our focus has to be laser clean. No distractions. The intent and the intensity of the energies that we raise can be with no distraction at all. Any distraction that happens and it breaks our concentration, we might as well pack up and go home, because all that energy that we've raised, all that fine tuning that we've raised, dissipates in a split second when our focus changes. So the Asian disciplines have helped me to a great, great, great degree. It's a discipline, yes, and it takes practice, yes, but it allows me to do my witchcraft, my spell work, my circle casting, with so much intensity and singularity focus that my magic works, my spells work. Now, to understand a little bit better on how this, my Asian and Zen disciplines have helped me, and to give you an idea on how powerful everybody's minds are, the potential of everyone's minds. In my mind's eye, I was thinking, okay, how can I turn off, or at least turn down the volume on the outside noise, so that my own singular thoughts and intent become the focus, and so that I can't be distracted from it. So I close my eyes and I imagine myself in a sort of an electronics lab, a lounge, a sort of a den with test instruments in the whole bit, and I created in front of me something like a CB radio that has volume, the channel selections, and something called squelch. Now, for those of you that are familiar with how a CB radio works, you tune to a channel, and you try to listen for somebody you can contact. Excuse me. Now, there are so many people on that channel, and they're all overlapping. How do you focus on one particular conversation so that you can join it? How do you cut out the outside chatter? Well, the squelch on a CB radio does exactly that. You can fine-tune what you're listening to a single voice by adjusting the squelch on the CB radio. Now, okay, apply that concept to what we have to do when we're doing ritual work, doing spell crafting, or a blessing or a curse. And our focus has to be laser clean and undistractable. We turn down the squelch so that only our own intent and our energies and our focus is all that exists. Everything outside of that no longer exists. And if it isn't there, it can't distract us. And that is a discipline that I've developed using that mindset. And it works. My magic works. Because there's no distraction. Okay, in witchcraft, when you do a spell work, or when you do any forms of magic that you want to be functional, there can be no distraction. And you raise and build specific frequency, bandwidth, energies, and intent that will build and build and build. A lot of pagan witches make the mistake of manually trying to break that bubble, that cone of power, to release the energy. The moment your mind switches from building that energy to actually breaking it to let it go through is enough to distract the whole process. And in the blink of an eye, you've just dissipated all that energy. So you might as well pack up your bags and go home. Because you won't have enough energy left to try again. Okay, let me go a little bit further with this. When you build energy and build it, don't worry about it breaking the bubble and going on its way. Let it do it on its own. Just continue building until it breaks the bubble and goes on to your target like a laser shot, like a cannon shot. Now, I know I'm bouncing around like a tree monkey from branch to branch on this. Let's go back to the squelch button again. Developing a discipline to build sort of a spiritual energetic radio that has a squelch button. It's not very hard. It takes a bit of practice, and you have to fiddle around with it so that it works the way it's meant to. It doesn't touch your focus or your energy, but it fades out and filters out all of the energy outside of your own thought forms and ritual purpose. That's what you've got to do. Now, I don't want this video to ramble too much, and I have a bad tendency of rambling, so please forgive me. But if you use those Asian type disciplines when you're raising energy, when you're focusing on a small, tiny little bandwidth and frequency pattern for your target that you want to send the energy to, and you squelch everything else out, let the energy build and build and build. Let it break on its own. It will. And you'll know it does, because the moment that the bubble breaks, you will feel temporarily totally drained, to the point where you might not be, how should I put it, for about a day or so, you might not be on your best performance because you don't have that reserve of energy to play with. It's okay, it'll build back up. But that's one of the reasons why we don't do multiple rituals or multiple spells in one night. We need recovery time. We need repair time for our energy to build back up. The self-same thing when you botch a ritual. Don't try to do it again. Just in an honorable way, close whatever you've started and pick another day sometime in the future to try the ritual again. You won't have enough energy to do a second shot at it in the same day, because the energy that you did build and when you were distracted it dissipated will leave you depleted enough that you probably will not be able to crank up enough energy to do a ritual without harming yourself, as far as your own filters and your own energy shields and your own copper top battery, so to speak. Anyway, Google Zen meditations, the ability to focus on a single thought to the point where nothing else exists. That's the type of focus you need for spell work and for ritual work in witchcraft. And that's worked for me amazingly well. But as I mentioned earlier, the discipline, it's not a hard one, but it's not really an easy one either. You have to practice it, and you've got to practice it faithfully. The ability to quieten the mind and focus on a single thought helps if you're a witch. Otherwise, you're sort of floundering in the water like a cork, bobbing, up and down and that, not really going anywhere. There's obvious motion and energy, but it's not doing anything. So anyway, before this gets too long, I'm Symbian, and thank you for watching, and please feel free to comment. Try to make them nice comments. Like, share, and subscribe if you happen to like the sort of tone of the videos that I'm putting out. I do appreciate it. So, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Blessed be.